Ever wonder about the hidden science that runs your daily life? You know, the little routines you do without even thinking? Well, it turns out the secret to why you do what you do might just be hiding inside a simple experiment with a cat in a box.
So let me ask you this. Why do some things just feel automatic, like you're on autopilot? You just do them, no thought required. And that feeling? It's not an accident. It's a learning process that scientists started cracking over 100 years ago.
So let's rewind the clock. We're going way back to 1898, to a psychologist named Edward Thorndike. This guy was obsessed with how animals learn, and his work with cats, of all things, ended up building the foundation for how we understand our own habits today.
To figure this out, Thorndike built this brilliant little invention he called a puzzle box. The idea was super simple. You put a cat inside, and for it to get out and grab a tasty piece of fish waiting for it, it had to figure out one simple trick, like pulling a string, or in this case, pressing a lever.
So the process itself is pretty straightforward, right? Cat goes in the box, cat wants out, it scrambles around, tries a bunch of stuff, and eventually it accidentally hits the escape button. The door pops open, the cat gets out, and boom, food reward. Easy enough. But the real magic, the fascinating part, is what's going on in the cat's brain while all this is happening.
Let's zoom in on that very first escape. Because it wasn't graceful, and it definitely wasn't smart. It was just pure, messy trial and error.
I mean, just picture it. If you were that cat, you'd try everything, right? You'd be poking your nose in all the corners, shoving your paws through any little opening, clawing at anything that looked even slightly loose. Thorndike saw the cats just moving all over the place, totally at random, basically just hoping something would work.
And then, after minutes of this frantic, useless effort, the cat would just accidentally bump into the solution. It would press the lever, the door would swing open, and bam, freedom. That one accidental moment of success is the trigger for everything that comes next.
Because that first escape, as random as it was, it kicked off this incredibly powerful learning process. See, Thorndike didn't just test the cats once. He ran them through this over and over, and he got to watch a habit form in real time.
And the contrast here is it's night and day. Before any learning happens, the cat's behavior is all over the map. It's slow, it's random, it's full of mistakes. But after a few successful escapes, something amazing happens. All those useless movements just vanish. The actions become fast, efficient, totally automatic. The cat doesn't even bother exploring anymore. It goes straight for the lever.
And hey, this wasn't just his gut feeling. Thorndike was a scientist. He had the receipts. He timed every single escape, giving us cold, hard data that shows you this learning curve in action. And the numbers, well, they tell an incredible story.
So let's take a look at one of his subjects, Cat 12. On its very first run, it took 160 seconds to get out. That's almost 3 minutes of just cluelessly bumping around before it found the lever. That's our baseline.
But now watch what happens by just the third try. The time is already cut almost in half, down to 90 seconds. Fast forward to trial 11, and it's down to just 11 seconds. And by the end, look at this, we're seeing escape times of 5, 8, 7 seconds. The cat has learned. The random guesswork has been totally replaced by a sleek, efficient habit. And this chart, man, this chart just says it all. The average time for the first 3 attempts was 90 seconds. The average for the last 3, a mind-blowing 6.3 seconds. That's not just an improvement, that's a complete transformation. It's all because the cat's brain put the solution on autopilot.
So what's the big underlying rule that Thorndike pulled from all this? He boiled it all down to one powerful idea that he called the law of effect. And this simple rule, well, it pretty much governs everything we do. Here it is, straight from the man himself. Behaviors followed by satisfying consequences tend to be repeated, and those that produce unpleasant consequences are less likely to be repeated. It sounds so simple, right? But its implications are absolutely massive. So let's just break that down. The main point is this. Our actions are constantly being molded by what happens after we do them. When you do something and it leads to a good feeling, a satisfying result, like escaping a box and getting a snack, your brain basically takes a little mental sticky note that says, hey, that worked. Let's do that again. That good feeling, that reward, literally strengthens the connection in your brain that produced the behavior.
Okay. A cat in a box from 1898. Cute story. But why should you care about this today? Because the exact same wiring, the same process that turned that cat into a lever-pushing pro, is operating inside your brain right now, building every single habit you have. Seriously, think about it. We can map this old experiment directly onto what we now call the habit loop. The box, that's the cue, the trigger, like your phone buzzing in your pocket. Pressing the lever, that's the routine, the action you take, like mindlessly unlocking your phone and opening an app. And getting the food, well, that's the reward, the satisfying hit of dopamine you get from seeing a new notification. It's the same cycle. Cue, routine, reward. It's the invisible blueprint of your daily life.
And your brain does all this for one very smart reason. It's lazy. It's an energy-saving machine. By turning the solutions to common problems into automatic habits, it saves brain power from more important stuff. But here's the catch, and this is so important. Your brain doesn't judge if a habit is good or bad. It only asks one question. Was the outcome satisfying? It will automate procrastinating on Twitter just as happily as it automates going to the gym, as long as it gets that little rewarding feeling at the end. So all of this leads us to the one big question you should be asking yourself. The law of effect isn't just some dusty old theory. It's an active force shaping your life this very second. So take a hard look at your own puzzle box. What are the satisfying consequences, the little rewards that are locking in your automatic behaviors? Because understanding the rewards that are driving you, that is the first step to taking control, to designing the habits you actually want and getting rid of the ones you don't. The whole key is right there.